don't worry about perfection, because on the day you become perfect, God will call you. As you are living human being, you are never going to be perfect. But as far as you are better today than yesterday, it is a great journey.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Hey, podcaster, it's Adam Adams, and I'm with Sue Patz, and we are going to be talking about a few things today. One is English is her third language, and she decided, and we'll find out why. Why did she start a podcast in English? Additionally, we'll talk about how she's doing 5 episodes every single week and has been doing that for about 3 years. We'll also talk about the 4 major things that she's getting value from with her podcast. And then we will take a break. And when we get back from the break, I'm going to do some free coaching for her on something that you also need to know. So if you don't think you have enough ratings or reviews on your podcast, if you're not sure how to get ratings and reviews on your podcast, if you don't have over 100 ratings or reviews on your podcast, then you're going to want to stick around to the end of this episode, because I'm going to be coaching and teaching Sue how to go from 0 to 100. And you're going to want to hear that as well, because that's going to make a huge difference for the success of your show. Sue, I want to start with English being your third language. For some reason, people were telling you needed to start a podcast, but you were resisting. I want to hear that part of the story.
Yeah, I was bedridden, and when I recovered, I was bedridden for 1 year. When I recovered, I pivoted my business. I just wanted to devote my life for solopreneurs and help them grow their business. So I thought the best way I can do is I'll provide them free resources so that they will get jump start into their business. I started blogging because I thought that was the best way to provide free resources. And my blog started getting traction really well. People started commenting, "Oh, we love your blogs. We don't have time to read your blogs. Why don't you do podcast? Why don't you do YouTube channel?" And that was the last thing in my mind, because I never wanted to speak, especially in public, because English is my third language. I studied in my Marathi. That was my mother tongue. Then second language was our country's national language, Hindi. And then English just came by accident because it is universal language. And my husband studied in convent, so he has UK accent. My kids are born over here, so they have American accent, and I'm the only one stuck with Indian accent. So I'm always laughed at in my own family. So I thought I was not capable of, and people may not understand me. People may not be able to relate to me. So why should I podcast? But when I started getting this request, I always wanted to serve solopreneur and entrepreneur. So I said, okay, if they are asking, I will do it, whether I want to do it or not. So I just put my eyes on them and forgot about my flaws, and I started podcasting, and I never stopped. And still I have to learn a lot. I have to improve a lot. And I have been just creating episodes and publishing, and I haven't repeated a single subject yet. I had guest episodes, I had lots of solo episodes, but I'm just enjoying the journey.
I've got a lot of thoughts on what you just shared, and I can't wait to get to the part about you forgetting about your flaws. I'm going to share that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But you mentioned that, hey, I want to help business leaders. I want to help people starting up. And so I want to give a good free resource to my perfect avatar, the person that I want to support. I'm going to give them free resources. You mentioned how that started with blogging. Blogging was very comfortable because you are a good writer and nobody has to worry about if they understand your accent. You already felt a little uncomfortable because your kids think you have a strong accent and because your husband thinks you have a strong accent. And so you're like, why would I put myself out there on a YouTube channel or on the podcast playing platforms if people have a hard time understanding me? But you did it anyway. And the big quote that I have is that you forgot your flaws. And I want to share with the listener something that they might not even believe at first. And it's funny because I haven't shared this in a while. I've been podcasting, Sue, since 2017.
Okay.
And I started hosting events, meetups when I was in 2016. And I am a people person. And I'm one of those hybrids between extrovert and introvert. The people call me an introverted extrovert. But the thing is, why am I like scared sometimes? Why am I introverted? It's because I got made fun of when I was in grade school because I was different. Maybe it wasn't my accent, but it was how I acted and what I did and what I didn't do, and that I didn't get everybody's jokes. And I always felt like people were making fun of me. And when I started my very first podcast, which I already sold more than 5 years ago, I had that for a few years and then I sold it. And so I had some success. Here's the big thing that was a takeaway for me, and I'm hoping for a takeaway for our listener today as well, because of what you said, Sue. You forgot about your flaws. And so I had to get into a different mindset. I realized that I was not the most eloquent person. Now, I'm getting better and better. I've been podcasting for years now, and every single episode, I learned something different about communication. But in the beginning, the questions that I would ask would be like 70-part questions. And I would answer the question for the person. I would be like, maybe you would say this. And it was very frustrating. And I learned a little bit each day. And I've gotten to a place where I feel very comfortable now talking to people. I feel very comfortable on a stage, which was never the case before, because I always had those fears of the kids that would bully me. I always had those same fears because I was the guy that was different, that wasn't as smart as some of the other kids, and I didn't use the same, I wasn't as good at English. It was my main language. I just sucked at it. Like I didn't read it. I didn't speak it. And when I was really young, I'd rather fight than try to use my words because I was strong and I didn't have the words. So I had some issues. And when I got into podcasting, in the very beginning, I was wanting to teach other people how to podcast. I already wanted that because it was miraculous. And I remember the fear of getting in front of people, this public speaking fear. And you got the nail right on the head. You forget about your flaws. And that's exactly what I tried to do. I said, you know what? I don't care if I'm not the most eloquent guy. I'm way better now. It's been years, but this is years back. I don't care if I'm not the most eloquent guy. What I can do is I can speak from my heart to their heart.
Mm-hmm.
I can give them the feeling that I'm looking for. And if I don't sound cool using it, if I don't sound like the valedictorian up on stage in front of a couple thousand graduates, that's okay. I don't need to be perfect. I just need to speak my heart to their heart. And so I had to specifically forget about my flaws. And what I realized is I was still tongue-tied. I was still tripping over words. But because I cared more about giving somebody value, I cared less about how bad I was sounding, how much I was stuttering and things like that, that eventually the speaking from heart to heart became the big thing. And I don't care anymore. I hardly care anymore about how I sound or how I come across or that I'm not the most eloquent. And as a result, I became more eloquent because I got out of my freaking head. And so I love that you said that. I love that you still press forward, even though English was your third language. And you mentioned that in 3 years, which is how long you've been doing your podcast. And by the way, to the listener, she's not publishing once a week. She's publishing at least 5 times a week, sometimes 7, sometimes every single day. And did you hear that thing that Sue said? In 3 years' time, even though she's doing that many episodes, she's never repeated content. I think that's interesting. I've got 2 ideas on this. When I look at this guy named Dave Ramsey, Sue, do you know Dave Ramsey? Have you heard of him? Okay.
Yeah.
What do you know about Dave Ramsey?
Yeah, means he's a celebrity, and yeah, he of course I listen to him.
Well, the thing that I think is interesting about him is that he repeats everything all the time.
Yeah.
It's so funny because we get nervous that we are going to say something we said 100 episodes ago. Sue, you probably have, what is 5? You probably have, how many episodes do you have? Because if I did the math, 5 times 50 times 3,
No,
that would be
this
like
is the third year.
700.
So I had to complete 2 years, and this is my third year. So yeah, you can just say, sure. Yeah.
Was it, so is it like 750 episodes?
Oh, no, no, no. What? See, 365 plus 365. Yeah, you can just say around, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 600. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I was just, so it's like 600 episodes. Well, if you listen to Dave Ramsey and if you just listen to 6 episodes, you probably only hear him saying 4 things every single time. He's always saying like that your paid off mortgage is the new status symbol of wealth that is has replaced the status symbol of wealth of owning a BMW that you don't even own. The bank owns it. So he constantly is talking about the same things, and he's built a really big following. So to the listener, 2 pieces to this. Number 1, if you do repeat content, it's fine. Some of the biggest names in the business repeat content 2 episodes back to back to back. But at the same time, you don't have to repeat content. You can say things in new ways. And so I wanted to find out from Sue how she's been able to not repeat content. Because for you, I hope you don't fear repeating content if you're listening, because it's not that bad. The people that are the biggest, Grant Cardone repeats content. Gary Vaynerchuk repeats content. Dave Ramsey repeats content. Our president, whichever him or her it is today that you're listening, they repeat content. They say the same crap or good things every single day. So, but Sue, how do you not repeat content? Like, what did you do to make sure that you could have it new every time and over 600 episodes?
Yeah, before answering your question, I want to say about couple of things. First of all, your story is exactly like my story, because exactly the same attitude as far as I can add value to someone else's life. Yeah, means I won't be so conscious about my delivery. So that was the way how I got started. So we relate to each other that way. Second thing, you talked about fear of public speaking, and that is the number one fear. People prefer to die over speaking in public, because the fear of public speaking is number one, fear of death is number two. So I can surely relate to them. Third of all, I attended many webinars, and when I was designing my content and eCourses and all, that time I had many mentors. I attend many webinars and summits and all. And they always say you have only one signature talk. And every summit you go, every place wherever you go for public speaking or keynote speaker, you just deliver only that talk. So that will be a repeating of content. But I thought if I'm podcasting, every time I should give some extra, yeah, I mean, not the same content, some new topics. And I think I am never going to run out of topics, because as a solopreneur, there are so many things. Solopreneur wears like 80 kinds of hats, and they quit 40 hours job to start their own business, end up working 80 hours, and they do every possible task. Means they are admin, they are graphic designer, they are publisher, they are editor, and they are creator, they are everything. They are CEO, CTO, CFO. So I don't think I will ever run out of content. And I personally use many strategies for creation and marketing and promotion and all. So if I'm not keeping any secret to myself, I have lots of things to share. So I think it is very, very easy to create new content, because right now also, every time I get new idea, immediately I put it in the content bank, and I say, okay, so this is the idea. This can be the idea for next presentation or next blog.
Can we talk about your content bank? So Sue's talking about how some people have a signature talk when she goes to all these summits and other things. People talk about needing to have a signature talk, so it's okay to repeat content. But she also talked about how her avatar the person that she serves is a business owner. And most business owners, especially small business owners, they wear every hat. When she says they wear every hat, she's talking about they wear the CEO hat, the CFO hat, the marketing hat, the salesperson hat. They're also they're wearing the accountant hat. They're wearing all of these hats. When you're a business owner, you are your own entire team, especially as she said, if you're a solopreneur. But as she's talking about all of this, she's talking about how she can't run out of content because she knows that her perfect, business owner, her new startup company, that there's a lot that they need to know. And then she went in and talked about something called a content bank. And I want her to explain that content bank with you. I want her to share is this something that's virtual? Is it on her computer? Is it on her phone? Is it a scratch pad? What does her content bank look like and how does she add to it and how does she pick what content she's going to pull and record that day? So Sue, let's start by just what is the content bank and how do you use it?
Okay. You are giving me credit for content bank, but I cannot take single credit for that because my every offer is created based on feedback. Whatever I have created, I have many offers. I have many things going on, but not a single thing I created just out of blue. Everything is created by feedback from my audience. Everything. So I saw whenever there is a challenge, I provided solution. Sometimes people tell me because I have lots of group coaching going on. I weekly connect with my audience. I have a co-creation labs. Let is we get together and I help you create your content and your resources. So
Can I pause you for a second? I love all of the background. I do. And I really want to get right back to this content bank. So what is the content
So
bank
the content
exactly? How
bank
do you
means
use it?
whatever feedback I get from my community, I just put that feedback
Okay.
immediately into content bank and I take action.
Tell me about your content bank. Is this on your computer?
Oh yeah, it is on my computer. It is just on the Google Drive.
Okay, it's
And
on a Google Drive. And when do you add things to it? Is it during your group coaching calls or do you just randomly think of something while you're on a walk and you're like, I got to add that to my content bank when I get back home? Or do you pull out your phone and just add it to your content bank? How should the listener use a content bank?
yeah, it is in the group coaching. Whenever someone tells me, immediately I go and put it because
Okay.
I know my memory, it can evaporate. And I just don't want anything which came to my feedback to evaporate. I also have everywhere there is a feedback form on my membership portal everywhere. So even someone has any kind of feedback, they can write over there. I read their feedback every day and I gather their feedback and I put it in my content bank. My YouTube channels, people comment, and even constructive comments are really good because that make me improve so that I can be better tomorrow than what I'm today. So I welcome everything. I have only two kinds of people in my life: people who love me and people who teach me. So I have absolutely no problem. So if someone criticizes me, I love them exactly the same way someone loves me. So this is how my content bank is always ever growing.
Okay, so you've got this content bank. It comes from mostly your group coaching. You'll
Yeah.
get somebody to tell you that they're going through an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll say, you know what, maybe I could make some content that could help him or her with that issue, and I could help other people that are probably going through the same issue. So
Mm-hmm.
you use a Google Drive, you put it in the Google Drive right away,
Mm-hmm.
and then when you're going to record your next episode, what do you do? Do you go to that content bank and you just randomly pick one, or you start at the top, or you start at the most recent one? How do you pick what you're going to record today?
Basically, I have only one topic for that particular day, so I sleep on it.
Okay.
I sleep on it, and morning when I wake up, generally I'm flowing with the ideas.
Oh,
The best place where you can really talk to your inner conscious is to be in sauna or even in hot tub and don't think of anything else just on that particular topic. You won't believe the number of ideas will just flow into your mind. And that time I don't have my phone with me. But then when I come out, I have everything recorded into my brain. I just put it to the fruition and the content is ready. It's very simple. Many people don't take pause in their life. I think pause is very important. That is when you really talk to your inner conscious, the God within you, and you get all the guidance from there.
Let's go to editing because it sounds like you edited your own show for the first year or so, but the last 2 years you haven't edited anything. I want to learn. Well, first, do you think that the listener needs to edit any of their own, or would it be better for them to just hire somebody immediately? What is Sue's opinion?
I think as far as you are genuine and authentic, and if you tell your audience that you don't edit much, it is a raw footage, they do accept you. They do accept you and they embrace you. See, nobody is looking for perfection. There are actually videos generated, one by a professional photographer, another one just on iPhone. And the one video which was done on iPhone got the maximum likes, and the other one people couldn't relate because it was too good. So if you are publishing without too much of editing, it is perfectly okay. Just be authentic, be genuine, and that is how every business of mine got started. Yeah, so you don't need to worry too much about. And I remember actually just last week I did one podcast and I thought there was a glitch in one episode. So I told my VA at the 15-minute mark there is a glitch. So just make sure you edit that properly. And she kept on playing that episode all the time again and again. And she said, I cannot find the glitch. I say, okay, maybe it is automatically corrected. I don't know. So, hey, sometimes those know all these smart tools, they do work for you. So perfectly, just start, go for it. I remember when I started my membership, it was not perfect, and I told people it is not perfect. I had a waiting list. I kept waiting list for 1 month. Then again, I thought site is not good. I should extend the waiting list. I extended for 1 more month. Again, I felt it is not good. I thought I shouldn't extend more. People will get bored. What is this? She's not launching. So I just launched. I said, hey, it is not perfect, but we are starting anyway. That's why I'm giving you special rate. Nobody judged me. I think I was the only one who was judging myself. Just
That's
be nice
important.
to yourself.
And I think a lot of the listener today, a lot of people can resonate with that. Like, I'm usually my own worst critic. It sounds like
Yeah.
Sue, you're sometimes your worst critic. And for our listener, they might be their own worst critic. And you talked about editing. You never wanted it or needed it to be completely perfect. Even when you launch your program, you said you don't need it to be completely perfect. You just want it to be honest. And it's a genuine authenticity that you're really talking about, having a genuine authenticity. And I love that. So now it sounds like a virtual assistant is doing all of your editing. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this is somebody that they basically work for you. They don't work for a company like mine, for example.
No, but they are trained by agency because I hired my VA and they work full time for me, but they came pre-trained by someone.
Cool. Awesome. I like that. Now let's talk about the 4 things. The 4 things that you are getting value through from your podcast. And then we'll take a quick break and I'm going to share how to get more ratings and reviews. So get ready to take notes. So Sue, right now, I remember you mentioned that there are really 4 major things that you get out of having your show. Will you share those 4 things with the listener?
4 things I can just say, it is a really great platform to promote and market your own business. And you do the networking. For example, see, I have been podcasting for this is my 3rd year, but the amount of teaching I got from you before the episode started, I never got that teaching. So this is a really great place for networking. If you're looking for some kind of mentorship or help, you will find over here. You will find really, really elite group of people over here. Then I can also promote my clients, and it is a great way you can promote them, their offers, but also you can get testimonials for your own offers. So this works both ways. It is a pure win-win situation. Plus, I can bring other guests on my podcast because, hey, surprise, surprise, I'm not good at everything. I'm not expert at each and every topic. So I know the weaknesses which I have. I can bring someone else and they can bless my community. My community is like my family. And I remember you mentioned many times about the perfection. So I have one business coach and he told me, don't worry about perfection because on the day you become perfect, God will call you.
Mhm.
As you are living human being, you are never going to be perfect. But as far as you are better today than yesterday, it is a great journey. So, so these are the four things which really help me. I really love this medium because the people who listen to podcasts, they are elite class of people.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
so me-
true.
yeah, they are really means very highly educated, qualified people. You will really get a quality. Yeah, even your whatever customer profile you are looking for, networking or mentorship, whatever, they are really high quality people. So this is the best medium I found because yeah, I can publish on. I'm not putting these platforms down, but means Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, everything is fine, but I'm not sure whether every comment I get over there it is a quality comment or just junk. I get mix up all those, but I hardly get any junk on podcasting when I publish
Yeah.
or promote or market.
So you mentioned four things, Sue. You mentioned that your podcast helps you network with your person. So there's a lot of ways that that can happen. You're interviewing good people that might be your avatar.
Mm-hmm.
You are interviewing people that might put you in front of your avatar.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of benefit that you get by having a podcast. Not only does having your own show allow you to bring people onto your show, but
Mm-hmm.
because you're now a thought leader, you're more likely to get on other people's shows. It would be a very small chance, Sue, and there's no offense to this, that for you to be on this show if you didn't have a podcast. But
Yeah,
because
and
you've got your own show, I'm more likely to bring you on. So the networking is number one. You also mentioned marketing your business, marketing, promotion, talking about your business, that being another benefit that you're getting. You also mentioned featuring your clients. So you're getting the social proof in front of other people that are listening.
yep.
And you're having your clients that are working with you. They're in your mastermind group. They're paying you
Mm-hmm.
for this or that service. You've got them feeling like they're more connected with you because they're adding value to your audience, to your listener. And so you've got that. So it's networking, marketing, featuring clients. And the fourth one is that you can bring guests on to add more
Mm-hmm.
value.
Mm-hmm.
I also like this. I don't know if you said it this way, but I'll share it this way too. Is that when I have somebody come on my podcast, if they are an expert in something that I'm not an expert in, I love that I can ask them a bunch of questions. So, for example, I was raising a lot of capital a few years back, millions and millions of dollars to buy apartment communities, and I had different securities attorneys. These are attorneys that help you to raise money legally. And a lot of other people that were in that syndication business, they were messing up, they were breaking the law, and they were putting themselves at risk. And I had a podcast and I got to pick the brains of people. So I had the opportunity to take one of these attorneys that usually charge 20 something thousand dollars, maybe 12,000 or to up to 20, just to do one thing for you that took them a few days. I had the ability to take an hour or two of their time, usually an hour, and I could ask them every single question and I could go deeper into it and I could say, well, what about this? Or I could say, hey, and my team just did this, or I knew somebody who just did that. Is that legal? Can I do what he's doing? How could I do what he's doing? How could I do this? What am I allowed to do? What am I not allowed to do? What's going to get me in trouble? What's going to keep me safe? And I could pick the brain of this attorney that probably wouldn't have given me his time anyway. But if so, it would have been at least $500, at least $500. And I could ask any single thing and I could get that value not just for my listener, but also for me personally. And then I can speak more eloquently and more sophisticatedly on that specific topic because I was able to ask multiple attorneys. So I had tons of them on my podcast. I featured them. I let them add value to my listener, but I also gained the most because I became almost as educated about those topics as the actual attorney themselves. So I could add a lot of value to my investors and the people in my circle. So
Oh
again, those four things:
my
networking.
goodness, no, I just want to really tell you, I can relate to your story so much because this is how I designed my membership.
Mm,
I had, of course, a coach who trained me how to start a membership. I was doing one-on-one, and I paid thousands of dollars for her one-on-one coaching, and I have been paying. But when I interviewed some people who had membership businesses, and I asked them what were the flaws, how they improved, what strategies they used, and those episodes, if you go on my podcast, you will see those episodes went for some episodes are 1 hour, 15 minutes because I kept on asking questions because I wanted to learn. And
yeah.
really, I got such great tips. I can't believe it. And it was free. And here, other place, I was paying thousands of dollars to get the same strategies. It's really amazing. I forgot to mention, I interviewed someone who has a SEO business. He says, podcasting is a great platform to get SEO backlinks. And I didn't know that. Means that was not my agenda when I started podcasting. But hey, that's added benefit.
And you know what? Okay, so let's say those four things to the listener one more time: networking, marketing, featuring clients, and guest interviews, guests adding value. Also, we talked a little bit about people who listen to podcasts are elite class of people, and it's true. There's proof that podcast listeners have more money than YouTube viewers and Facebook viewers. So if you've got a podcast, you're more likely to get in front of a better client, a more likely client that can pay. That's the age range that you're looking for, that has the money that you're looking for, and is able to make that business decision to work with you. So let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about getting ratings and reviews. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hey, my friend, as you know, this episode is sponsored by my company, GrowYourShow.com. We want you to be able to have the best tools at your disposal without costing you a whole arm and a leg. So right now you can get a free list of vetted equipment that like mics, mixers, webcams, sound treatment, editing software, everything that you need. I created the whole PDF with direct purchase links just to save you time and money, to help it be more convenient for you. So this free PDF will help you skip all the guesswork. If it's on there, it's vetted and approved by yours truly. And if it's not on there, it's probably not worth the money. So go ahead and get yours at growyourshow.com/PDF. Let's get back into the show.
We're back with Sue Patz from New Beginning Podcast. The link to her show is down in the show notes. And if you also want to check out her full bio, because I do not read people's bios on the show. That's boring. That's long. You can just read it. Scroll down. You can check her out. You can also get any links that she wanted to share. So her business link down in the show notes. Her any social media she wanted you to have, it's already down in the show notes. So scroll down. That's how you can connect with Sue. And we're gonna talk about getting some ratings and reviews, because right now, just as we record, she's published several hundred episodes, but she hasn't gotten the social proof yet on her Apple podcast. And so we're going to talk through, how do you do that? How do you get at least 100 people to say what's important? How do you get that social proof on your podcast? Prior to doing that, I will just repeat some of the things that we've already learned from Sue. One of those things is that she jumped in and started her podcast. It didn't take her years to start a podcast. Actually, she started it in a day, which is awesome. The next thing is that she's publishing 5 days a week at least. And she's been doing that for about 3 years. Next is that she did edit some of her first episodes, but now she's got her virtual assistant that was hired and trained by somebody else to do this for her. And another thing that we talked about was English was not her first or second language. It was her third language. And She felt uncomfortable. We already talked about what her husband said, what her kids were saying. Your accent is thick. It's too strong. I can't tell what you're saying, Mom. But so she's like, so do I really want to start a podcast and get in front of people? At first, it was a no. It was like, I'll do the blog. But then her listener gave her feedback. That's another thing that you could pull away from this. If your listener gives you feedback, by the way, you should ask for that feedback. She has documents to allow for more listener feedback, but she was able to get that feedback and said, hey, the blog is great. I just don't know if I have time to read it, to be stuck in front of a blog and to read several pages. What would be better is if I was driving to work and I could just hear you talk directly to me. And so she decided to do it. It took her about a day to launch her podcast. She's been doing it almost every day for the last 3 years. And she's getting a lot of value from her podcast. She's networking. She's promoting and marketing her business. She's featuring some of her clients and getting that social proof of people that have worked with her. And she's adding value from guests that have that additional value to share. She talked about the free resources going from blogs, getting some traction, but she wanted more people. She didn't know if she wanted to do a YouTube channel, but she did. And remember that she forgot her flaws. She started thinking kind of like I was saying before, heart speaks to heart, not, my mistakes or my insecurities blocking you from getting any value from me. She's not letting that happen. And she talked about how, you should have a signature talk. And I've done that myself. There's a few talks that I've given countless times on different stages, virtual and online stages, different people's podcasts. She talked about the content bank. Remember that that's a place where you go that after you get that feedback, you just put it into your content bank. What else did we get? People who listen to podcasts are the top class of people. They make more money on average than others, and they're more likely to take action on average than from other platforms. Now it's time to talk about ratings and reviews on your podcast. So Sue currently doesn't have a rating or review showing up on my end on Apple. And I asked her, hey, is it okay if I teach you how to do this and the listener gets something out of it as well? She said, yeah, sounds good. She's not too prideful to learn something new today. So that's great. And I hope you are the same. If you don't have 100 ratings or reviews, I want you to have a goal to get to 100 as soon as possible. What I've taught to other people, some of them are friends and some of them are my paying clients over the past 6 years. What I've taught them is that let's talk about Amazon first. Okay, Sue, we're going to talk about Amazon. You like Amazon. I'm not sure if it's because you can purchase things when you're just wearing your underwear. I'm not sure if it's because you don't have to drive and navigate traffic, but I know you probably like Amazon. If you're like most people, do you like Amazon, Sue?
Oh, I like it because I like their service. If I don't like something, they take it back without any question. So I like that service a lot. Yeah.
Nice. Another reason on top of the ones that I've mentioned that people like Amazon is because you have the ratings and reviews.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm looking at something on Amazon and it has a 4 or 5 star rating, but there's only been 1 to 5 people that have said anything about it, my first assumption is that
Right.
all 5 of those people work for the company. All 5 of those are fake. But when I see a couple 100,000 ratings and reviews on something, whether it's a 3-star, 4-star, or 5-star total, I'm more likely to trust them because of the social proof of multiple people that have tried that product. Of course, I will go and look at a couple of 5-star reviews. I'll go look at a couple of 1, but I'll also make sure that I'm reading a couple 2, 3, and 4-star reviews. What are the middle people saying about this? What are they saying is the pros versus the cons? When you have a podcast, you want the most amount of people to be talking about your show as possible. I would skip somebody's podcast in general. I would skip the podcast. I don't care if they have 700 episodes. If nobody ever told me if they liked it or didn't like it, then I would just say, all right, I'm good. I don't need to be the first person ever to see what this is like. I don't want to be just a pioneer. Being a pioneer is wonderful, and 10% of the population just wants to be the pioneer and be the first to get somewhere, the first to adopt technology, the first to listen to a brand new podcast that nobody else has heard. That's not me. I want to check out the one that has some social proof behind it. So when I go and check out a new podcast, I'm going to look for a show that has at least 100 different people that have said something, whether it's good or bad, about that podcast. So if I go to a podcast and nothing has been said, I'm already good. If it's 5 ratings reviews, I'm passing. So you should be having a goal of getting 100 people or more to rate and review your show. In my mathematical calculation, what that generally means is I need to ask 300 people, because I'm going to say that generally 1 out of 3 are going to do what they say that they're going to do. It's sad, but that more people don't. But I'm going to say 1 out of 3 are going to follow through and do what they say that they'll do. So I want to find a way to speak to 300 people. These could be friends, family. These could be people on social media that follow my page. It doesn't matter. But there are a few ways to go and reach out to them. One of the things that might be a good benefit is to go and call them and say, "Hey, Amber, it's Adam. And I don't know if you knew, but I just started a new podcast. It's called New Beginning," or I've had a podcast for the last 3 years. It's called New Beginning. And I was just talking to a podcast coach, and he mentioned that I needed some social proof and that I should reach out to a couple people that I trust. That's why I'm reaching out to you, Amber. I want to reach out to a couple people that I trust. Just ask them to listen to an episode or 2 of the podcast, and then leave an honest review of the show. Please note that I didn't say, "Amber, I need podcast episode interviews. I need people to do this. I'm screwed if you don't help me." I didn't come from a place of desperation. And I also said something really nice to Amber. I need this podcast coach. He said I need a couple people that I trust, and that's why I'm calling you. So that speaks to that person and lets them know that you trust them, you trust their opinion, and that it's only a couple people. You're not reaching out to the entire world. Yeah, maybe you are reaching out to 300 people, but in this conversation, hey, I need a couple people that I trust to just listen to an episode or 2 and then leave an honest review of the podcast, whatever you think, pros or cons. Am I asking for a 5-star review, Sue? Am I asking for a 5-star review? She's shaking her head no. No, I'm not, because the psychology, if I ask you to give me a 5-star review, you most likely won't even give me a review. The truth is, if I ask you for a 5-star review, you're going to be like, "Oh, I don't know if I can give you 5 stars. And if I do, I don't want it to be your choice. I want it to be my choice. I want to give 5 stars because I think you deserve it, not because you asked for it. So I'm not even going to give you a review at all." So you won't do anything. And if you leave a review and you don't listen to an episode or 2, Apple's going to delete it anyway. So if I go and ask people to, "Hey, give me a review," they're probably not going to do it. But also, if they did, Apple wouldn't even let that review happen because they didn't listen to any episodes. You need them to listen so that the review can count. On Amazon and also on eBay and other things, they have things called verified buyers. Amazon will not show you as many people if they didn't actually buy the product. If they came and gave a review, but they didn't actually buy the product, they're not going to let that review happen. And Apple isn't going to let that review happen if you have your mom go and just give you, "Oh, my son is such a great guy. You should check out his podcast." Or, "Hey, I know this guy. I met him at a conference and he's really cool. You should check out his podcast." Those aren't going to fly. So you always ask, "I want you to listen to an episode or 2 and then give me an honest review of what you think of the podcast." And you can go a step further and say, if there's any issue, if there's anything that that you would want to be fixed, just put it in the review. Give me a 2-star. And Sue, in particular, is going to be okay with a 2-star because she just wants to make the podcast better. And you who's listening, you should be okay with a 2-star because you just want to make your show better. If you earned a 2-star and you take that feedback and you implement it, then the next review you get is probably going to be a 4-star or 5-star. So with all this said, This is how you start to get those reviews. You're going to ask 300 people. On your Facebook, you probably are connected with at least 300 people. And if you asked all of those people that you're connected to with voice memos, with phone calls, maybe even with text messages, maybe an email blast to people that follow you on the email, then you're more likely to get people to start taking traction. You're going to get more listens and downloads and plays on your podcast, which means that your podcast is going to get in front of even more people because it's going to trigger more algorithms. And you're going to start getting that social proof that shows that people listen to your podcast. And you're going to be able to get that feedback to know what to change. And so if you can focus on this, the longest this would take you to get 100 ratings or reviews would be about 6 months. The shortest that this would take you to get 100 ratings and reviews would be about 2 weeks. So if you go in and follow that plan that I just outlined for you, you reach out to those people one-on-one, let them know that you need a couple people that you trust to just listen to an episode or two and give you an honest review of the podcast, even if it's 2-star, just say what you think. You will probably get over 100 ratings, reviews in somewhere between 2 weeks and 6 months. But I'm thinking for most of you, if you're dedicated enough, you can get this done in under a month. And then the traction on your podcast changes. The amount of people that are willing to check out your podcast increases. And your ability to offer value to those new people increases as well. Sue, do you have any question on getting ratings and reviews? Do you have any clarification? Anything you want to ask about that?
So you also mentioned email blast, but you also mentioned one-on-one. So email blast and one-on-one are two extremes. So please clarify.
Yeah, good point. So the best way to do this is by phone call. The way that's the most likely that the person will actually do it is if you're just talking to them directly and not talking to anyone else, and they know you're not talking to anyone else. If you're texting them or emailing them something that seems like you copied it and pasted it and you sent it to 300 people, they're probably not going to do anything. So when you're doing this, you want it to be as directly to that person as possible. John, you and I met at this one place. I was supposed to call a couple people trust. I like you because XYZ. I trust you because XYZ. And that's why I'm calling you, is because I wanted to get your feedback. Can you listen to an episode or two? But if John just got a text and it was like, hi, I started a new podcast. Would you like to give me a rating or review? Here's what the podcast is. Please listen to an episode or two and give me an honest review. If John thinks that you sent that to anyone but him, he's probably not going to do crap with that. So that's why I'm saying you can, if you want, you can figure out a way to use email if you've got thousands of people. And in doing so, you want to make it as you always want to make it as unique as possible. Here's some mistakes that people make, Sue, when they do text messages or Facebook messages or emails. They give a whole bunch of details of something there and they forget to ask any question. It comes across as it's completely copy and paste. It comes across as it's spam, and that person's not going to want to do anything. So if you are going to do text messages or emails, keep it short and sweet. Hey, name, I wanted to find out if you could help me out with something. Please reply back to this message if you've got 5 minutes. If you were able to keep it that short and that person replied back, then you started giving them some of that information, it would work better than if you gave them all of the information. It was super long. It was obvious copy and paste. It was obvious that you sent it to more than just them. So you want to get away from that as much as possible. But some people, they are going to feel daunting the task of being personal. The personalization, that's where a lot of the magic happens. But I still have a listener who's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to send 300 different things. Let me find a way to send it to 300 people. If that's you, then just try to do it the best way that you can possible. Just know just understand that I'm really hoping that you do it one-on-one. And if you do it one-to-many, that you try your hardest to keep it short and sweet and simple and not looking like it could be copied and pasted.
Should I give any incentive?
Yeah, that's a good question. What's an idea for an incentive that you want to, that you might want to
I have
give?
tons of digital products. I can always reward digital products.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. So I could say something like this. Hey, here's an idea. If it's one-on-one, I might reach out to somebody. Let's say I've got a fitness company, and I do. And I want somebody to jump in, and I think that my fitness company will help them. And I've got a fitness podcast, which I don't, but let's just pretend that I did for a second. Aaron, I know you've been following my content for a while. I know that you've been wanting to hire me for a while. I've got a favor for you. I've got a podcast in the fitness industry, and I want your feedback because you're my perfect avatar. Aaron, I think I said his name was Aaron. Aaron, you're my perfect avatar. You're exactly who I want to work with. Can you check out just 1 or 2 episodes of my podcast, leave an honest review of the podcast, and then just screenshot it, send it to me to prove that you did it. And I'm going to give you 3 extra months of coaching. So if you pay for 12 months, I'm going to give you 15 months instead of 12. So now Aaron's like, yeah, I was probably going to hire him anyway, but now I get this extra advantage of getting 3 additional months on top of whatever I was going to pay. So yeah, I think you can absolutely do that. And I had a client who did this with Email Blast, and he said, hey, I'm putting together a giant party at my house, at my mansion, and I've got the swimming pool and everything's going to be catered, and we're gonna bring this together. I'm going to put like $200,000 into the one party. It's going to be epic, and you can be invited. The only thing that it takes you to be in the inner circle is just a rating and review on the podcast. So go and listen to an episode or 2. Give me an honest rating and review of what you think of the show. And then I will send you my address, the date and my address, so you can come to this epic party. So yes, you can incentivize. Yes, you can use your lead magnets. Yes, you can use all the content that you already have. Yes, you can do that. And the closest that you can do this with being individualized for that one human being that you're talking to, the more likely that they're going to do the thing. So I hope you got tons of value going through today's episode with Sue, and I will see you on the next episode. I'm looking forward to it. Bye for now.
Oh, hey, because 3 of my clients came to me recently looking to find a way to have their podcast make them money instead of cost them money. We put together a resource for some of our clients, and I want to give it to you as well. It's something that did actually seem to help, because one of them is now making $2,600 a month. Another one's $4,500 a month. And the third is making between $5,000 and $10,000 each month. And so it's been a resource that's been incredibly valuable to them. It's our sponsor sheet template. It's a template of a sponsor sheet, and it gives you something that you can hand to potential sponsors and hopefully also be making $2,600, $4,500, or between $5,000 and $10,000 regularly each month with your podcast. So this has been a contributing factor to helping all 3 of those clients turn their podcast into an additional income stream for them. And the way that you can find it is just going to our website, growyourshow.com, but put in /templates, growyourshow.com/templates. And then you can actually download that template and others that could be valuable to your podcasting experience. I'll see you on the next episode.